Well, hey you guys, I'm heading down to the shop to got some plastic gauge. I had to drive 3 different parts stores to find plastic gauge. That's probably made in China too. Anyway, I'm going down there to put this 4.5 liter Cummins together. I'm gonna do a compression test on a 7520. I need to get a clutch out of a Dodge pickup that's in there. It's been sitting there for a while. I'm in my 06 F250 because what was it? What's today? There's the fire truck that went blazing down here. I just seen him. It's slicker and greased out shit out here right now. A little bit of rain or something here on the... I think it rained a little bit last night and then it froze on it, and it's pretty slick. But anyway, going out here to put this little Cummins together. I put a video out on Rumble about the Cat 980B loader. I'll leave a link to my Rumble account. If you care to join, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. I used to say it's a free country. You can do what you want. I don't know about that anymore. Anyway, I'm just trying to build up an alternative source for revenue and for the videos, just in case I say the wrong thing and I get shit canned. So, which happens quite a bit on YouTube these days. They only want one train of thought. They only like Orwellian's thought. So, anyway, I'm gonna head down here, try to get this little Cummins together. I really need to get it together because that swather's still sitting out there, and I'm afraid they're gonna flood that refuge, and we ain't gonna be able to get to it. So, I'll see you guys when I get down to the shop. I'm in this pickup here because we went to a New Year's party. What was it? Thursday night. I'm gonna take my full drive out. I don't need it now. I'm going straight down the road. I had my daughter's car in there, trying to get her ready. She's taking off and going to college today. So I worked on it Thursday afternoon, trying to get it ready to go. I'm still a little bit worried about it. It's got a little bit of a whining, sounds like to me, in the gear train on it. It's a 2007 Ford Edge, and I think she's got a bearing going out. But, you know, we're out of time. She's got to be up there today. Mom's going up there with her, and I said if it breaks down, I said, well, we'll either have to have it fixed up there, or I'll take this. If I have to, I'll take this pickup up there for her to drive, and I'll have it towed back or something. I'll figure something out. You got to take care of that girl. So anyway, anyhow, that's why I'm driving this, because I went to the party and I was pushing the timeline pretty tight, so I just jumped in her car and left, and locked the service truck up and left in the shop. And I didn't work yesterday. It was New Year's. It wasn't really, nothing was open, and said, well, the hell with it. So anyhow, I just jumped in this and come down here this morning, and then we're going to figure out how to, I'll probably leave this here and lock it up and take the service truck back. I don't like leaving my service truck there if I can absolutely help it, so. Well, I'll see you guys when we get down here shortly. Alright guys, here's a little 4.5 liter Cummins. So these 4.5s are pretty much the same thing as like a, so you got a 3.9, right, and a 5.9 Cummins. Well, the 3.9 is just same bore and stroke, 2 cylinders less. And this 4.5 is pretty much the same thing as a 6.7, but it's just got 2 less cylinders. There's our thrust bearing. And we're going 10 over. These are 10-10 bearings. They'll say either 10 on them. These Interstate McBee bearings say 10. I know you can't hardly read it, but it says, barely read that, 0.010. I had to get the rod bearings from Cummins. Interstate McBee didn't have them. You'll see is this feed hole partially exposes the piston cooling nozzle. This is how this engine feeds on these. You gotta make sure you get them lined up right. It's kind of hard to get it wrong. I mean, the bearing tank's gonna go in the slot there, so kind of hard to really get it wrong. I think what I'm gonna do is, it's easier if I put my lifters in. I'm gonna go get my lifters and clean them up, put them in the lifter bores. And then I'll get the crank over here. I got some plastic gauge somewhere. What'd I get here? I got the green is the, I'm trying to remember, the green is the 1 to 3, I think, or is the red 1 to 3? Green is, yeah, green's 1 to 3 and the red's 4 to 9. No, it's 2 to 6. Red's 2 to 6. The other one's 6 to 9. Whatever color that one is, I don't remember, but I got the 1 to 3. And we should be like 3-4 thousandths is what we should be, but let me get the lifters and get them cleaned up and we'll get those in there. It's just a lot easier to get them in now. Alright, so we'll CRC assembly lube. Pretty simple. They just go down on the lifter boards. I got one in there already on this one, but start over on that one, clean that one up. Butterfingers. Have to clean that one up again. That was smooth move, wasn't it? Feels good when you got customers that call to compliment you. Had a rancher that I rebuilt his John Deere PowerTech 8.1 liter PowerTech 8000 series John Deere. But he called me the other day and called me just to say that, you know, I haven't heard from him in a long time. He doesn't have a whole lot of equipment. It's been a couple years anyway since I've done anything for him. But I think the last thing I did for him, that PowerTech 8.1 liter, I did that years ago, a long time ago. Anyway, that's his main work tractor. He called me to wish me happy Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff the other day, and told me that John Deere engine that I rebuilt, he said, is the only damn thing that'll start on the ranch. He says it's still got good compression and no blow by, and he says I put about 8,000 hours on it. He says it runs like it's new. He said knock on wood. Believe it or not, I didn't even put OEM stuff in it. We put golly, what did we put in that thing? Max Force or IPD or something like that. I can't remember what we put in there. They weren't they weren't OEM parts, but You know, like that's what a lot of people don't understand. They're big time on this OEM stuff, and there are certain things that OEM's a lot better. You know, I've had some Reliance kits that I wasn't very happy with when I opened the box and started putting them together. But like Interstate McBee, they make a lot of the OEMD parts for Detroit. So some of the stuff when you're buying them from Detroit, all you're doing, you're actually buying an Interstate McBee, but you're just buying the marked up price that Detroit's putting on the part, because they're not making them. So we'll leave the lube off the bearing. We'll go get the crank and set it in there. We'll get a main cap, start in the middle, get a little chunk of plastic gauge, we'll torque it down, see what we got. I got a chunk of plastic gauge there. I got 2 to 6 there. Let's see, that's going to be number 4, 5, 4, 3. Bearing set up on this one here. Kind of wondering if I ought to tear a chunk of that. Tear a chunk of the smaller and lay a strip beside it. Usually the 2 to 6 is kind of where you're at, but I'm looking for around 3 or 4 thousandths is what I'm looking for. The wife called and she's all hysterical and crying because the girl's leaving to go to college. She's going away, so I can understand that. So that's not number 3, that's number 2. That's number 3. She's 17 years old. She's going to college, going on her own. She's got the 17-year-old goes out on her own. The 22-year-old, I can't get rid of that one. He's living at home. This engine was line bored too. Spun a main bearing. Alright, I gotta look up the torque. I got a actual paperback book for this one. Let's see here. So step 1 is 44 foot-pounds. Step 2, am I on the right engine here? Because there are several different engines on this. So it's saying 3.9, 4.5, 4.5 RGT, and 5.9 on this book.
says B 3.9, B 4.5, and B 5.9 engines. So 44 foot-pounds, initial torque, 66, and then 90 degrees. The 4.5 RGT engine has a different spec. So this is not a 4.5 RGT engine. So let me get torque wrench. .44. My battery isn't dead in this. First thing, I guess, I got it snug down. Will it turn? Well, I don't want to turn that with that plastic gauge in there. So let's I think my battery's probably gonna die on this. It's the only bad thing about this torque wrench. Kind of feeling a little bit funny. Yeah. Huh. Kind of feeling a little weird. Like the way that one feels. Maybe it's just a dowel seating up in there. I hope. Alright, so, well, I'm gonna have to go get batteries for this thing. I can't read the display anymore. I gotta go get a battery for it. And go over to the store and get a battery for the damn torque wrench. Alright. This little table's got locking wheels, I think, on it. Lock them down so it's rolling on me. Bench, 66 foot-pounds now. Alright. Now I gotta go 90 degrees. So I'll have to zero this thing. Then we'll have to do it all over again after we check everything. This ain't working out very good, is it? Yeah, an engine stand would be nice, but I don't know. My problem with engine stands too, they like to roll around too. Alright. Alright. Let's take them off. Start checking our plastic gauge. Start at the end like this. Oh. Probably should have looped those threads up. I didn't really think about it. I probably should have lubed those threads up. Alright. Where is the little gauge at? I think it smashed it much at all. Maybe a little tighter than I thought. I didn't really smash it at all. I can see. No. Pretty close to that one right there. It's about 6 thousandths. I don't really like that. God dang guys might have turned them too much. Took too much off. Right at 6 thousandths. Every one of them. 0.6 on every one of them. I don't know. About 6 thousandths is right there where we're at. See what the minimum and maximum allowable is. Probably be fine, but I gotta look in the book, see if I can find the specification. He told me that he was doing 10-10. Now, most guys that have somewhat kind of a reputable reputation will mark the crankshaft somewhere as to what they did. And I ain't seeing it. I think the son of a bitch took 20 off. And I got the wrong bearings. So let's measure the rod journals while we got it easy up here. So here's the rod. So 4.5 connecting rod, crankshaft bore. That's for the bore of the rods. The actual component, let's see here. Here's the crank journal itself. 0.25 millimeter or 10 thousandths. That's what he told me. Should be 2.7052. I've got getting old where I can't see nothing anymore. 6. Well, no, I'm not even quite. What? That ain't making any sense to me. 6 is way out there. What? 2.7. This is a 2 to 3. And I'm not even getting to 7. 7's way out here on the rod journal. There's no way in hell it's that. What do they stock? I don't know, guys. Here, I'm not trying to figure out what I'm looking at here. So let's look at this. The way they got this book arranged, I think that's what's confusing me. I think they've got them ordered like this. So 4.5 connecting rod, crankshaft bore diameter, bearings removed. See that? Standard. How about, and I'm not showing anything on this, is all that. This is, let's see, standard. I'm trying to figure this out. So measuring the journal on that picture right there. So we got an undersize here. We've got a whole separate dimension here. I'm trying to figure out what the hell they got going on here. Must be going off this one here. I'm thinking this must be the 4 point. Why didn't they separate that somehow and put that on a different page or something? It's really confusing. I think this is the 4.5 RGT engine. Is there a spec on? Is there a specification for? I want to see if the rod. I think the journals on the 4.5 RGT are completely different. bearings, connecting rod. This tells you the bearings, connecting rod bearings, dimension, crankshaft in play, main bearing, dimensions, camshaft gear, connecting rod. Okay, 4.5 inch connecting rod piston, crankshaft bore. Connecting rod, crankshaft bore, diameter, bearings removed. Okay, the 4.5 RGT engine, that's what it is. This one up here on top is the 4.5 RGT, and the one on the bottom is the regular 4.5. That's, I'm sitting there going, holy shit, this thing's way off. Let's do this again. Looks like we've got 2.5, 2550. Got here, let me look. 2550. Undersize would be 2.5879. So we've got 2.5, 50, 75, 85, 87. Need a pen. Let me go get a pen I can write this shit down with. Okay, as you can see, I'll see if you can get you close up on that. But I've got, that's what I've got. I've got 2 point, so I got 500 thousandths, 525, 550, 575 plus 15. That's 2.587. And here is for 0.25. Here's our standard. Actually, I'm on the bottom one down here. The bottom. This is the RGT, the top one. It's confusing. I don't know why they didn't put RGT. And anyway, 2.5879 for undersized, 0.25 millimeter or 10 thousandths. Okay, so let's measure the other ones. That's what we got on the rods anyway. Pretty much right there again, 2.587. I probably shouldn't mic them in more than one spot, but I think they should be concentric enough, I would think. Pretty much same thing. Right there. Okay, so I know those are in spec. That's they did it right on the money on that. Now I got to get a bigger mic. I got to get a 3 to 4, I think, to do the mains. So these are rods. Where are the mains at? Connecting rod, main bearing bore clearance, bearing shaft clearance, 2 to 5. Plastic gauge is not 100% accurate. So if you have any questions, I mean, it don't hurt to get mics out and start measuring stuff. Where is the bearing, main bearing? Is it a main bearing bore there? That's a rod up there on top. Connecting rod to crankshaft bearing clearance. Their literature is kind of confusing. It really is. See, down here on this bottom picture, they're measuring a main bearing. And on the top one, they're measuring the rod journal. And they're telling you here's, check it for spots for concentricity, but I ain't doing that. Just trying to figure this book out. It's kind of confusing. Standard size. I mean, there's no way that these mains are bigger than. I got to get the crank out and measure these mains. So, if you guys have used plastic gauge, you know it's not 100. It kind of gives you a rough idea. It's not 100% accurate. So I did a telescoping gauge, and I measured the rod journals without the bearings, and they're right on. There's nothing wrong with them. And we've measured the OD on the mains and the rods on the crank, so they're right on the mains. Let's see, we've got what I measured out here at the 10. They did just right over there at the machine shop. It measured right out at 3.256. As you can see here, we're right at the spec is 2 to 5, and it mashed it on there. We're right at 6, we're right at the low end there. It's about the same width as the 6, so I'm not going to worry about 1/1000th. I'm just not going to worry that much about it. I think we'll be just fine. I think we'll go with her. So what we'll do, if I had one, I did have one time that they sent me the wrong bearings and I wasn't paying attention. If you bolt it down, you pull it back off, and your plastic gauge just doesn't even, smash in there at all. It's like, oh shit, this ain't good. What did I do with the assembly lube? Oh, there it is. But I measured it. What I was going to tell you is, I measured the mains, and then I put a main back on here, and I took one bearing out, and then I measured the bearing thickness. And what you do is you figure out what your clearance is by adding and subtracting. So it's like 0.004 is what my micrometers are telling me. So that's what I'm saying. That plastic gauge, kind of gives you a rough idea. But if you're a little worried, which I'm not worried now because I measured them, then get the mics out. Let's get the crank lubed up too. Thing about a little 4BT, you can just grab the crank and throw it in there. Whereas on a 5.9 you don't really want to do that, or 6.7. assembly lube on that thrust bearing surface. Right here. This thing's been line bored and all kinds of stuff, so. Alright, so talked to a buddy of mine that does a lot of machine work, and was measuring, just make sure I'm right. He said, sounds like to me you're good to go. Turns really nice and easy. About, you know, you feel a little resistance there, but like you normally would. Just put the cam in it. I like putting the cam in when the engine's upside down, and lifters will stay in, it's just easier. Put the 0 for the timing mark. Turn it around in there. Got assembly lube on the block and on the cam. It's nice if you can do both, because when you put the cam in, you're wiping it off. Alright, let me find my timing mark here. It's going to be the 2 O's. Right there. That's where I want to be. And I missed it by a tooth. Now I'm on. Okay. So, gotta get the thrust plate. You'll know if everything seems pretty good. It's not tight. I was talking to Jim, and he said if they line board it wrong, I was really worried about clearance problems, but he said if they line board it, he said the way they should do it is the cap should be. He said they shouldn't change the center line, you know, of the engine. You know, because if they change the center line and board it too much and move the crank and the crankset further up in the block, then our gear train dimension would be too tight. And I think we're fine. It's turning real easy. It's not binding up. So anyway, I gotta find the thrust plate. I'm gonna eat some lunch and I'll be back.